When I was learning to read English, my teachers often told me that if you don't know a word or if you don't know what it means, use the context clues around the word to find out its meaning. And even if it's not a piece of literature, I often resort to context clues or my surroundings to put the puzzle pieces together. Perhaps when a language is foreign, I may be tempted to use the various technologies and devices we have today, such as a dictionary or Google Translate, to find its meaning. However, in many language classes, technological translative assistance is often forbidden for assignments. This was a pretty important rule when I was learning Swedish, but for me, Swedish was not difficult to deconstruct as it had words many similar to English. Today, the challenge was to translate Cree, a language belonging to one of Canada's many Indigenous groups. The task presented here was of a completely different language that my Latin-based decoding skills were not of much assistance. The Cree language uses syllabics that reminded me of a mix between the characters of Asian languages and Egyptian hieroglyphics. The goal was to translate this Cree word, which was also presented as a large art structure in the park. There was an explanatory board with the Cree word and a description, both in Cree and English. I had to fight the temptation to not read the English translation, but simply fixating on the words was not sufficient. Thus, I pondered what I learned previously in social studies. The Cree are a North American indigenous group, and common to these groups is the sacredness of land and Mother Nature. Thus, I inferred that this large word had something to do with land, and the following description was the importance of the land. Other stones had engravings that talked about the earth and its importance, as well as other art pieces which are depictions of nature, which also led me further to this interpretation. After I had come to this conclusion, I turned to read the English translation. The word itself meant fire, so I did not quite get that correct. But the description does talk of how the embedding of the Cree language in the land through this structure allows the connection of language, land, community, and culture to be possible. Therefore, I was in the right ballpark. This experience presented a post-humanistic view. The translative technology that was used on the poster board gave me the literal meaning of the Cree word, but when this was integrated into my attempts to contextualize without knowing the language, it allowed me to realize the deeper meaning behind it. If I had put a distinct line between the two, the artistic works overlooking the river valley would have been insignificant, but without the translation, it would have been difficult to know where to start. Since the human translation was provided by an elder of the Cree group, I felt that the translation was accurate and therefore could be trusted. Every word in Cree, when deconstructed to an English equivalent translation, had some deeper meaning. I could feel the importance of the land that this park was situated on meant to the Cree people and the indigenous artists whose works were on display. The only critic? Postmodernity, of course. Nevertheless, make sure you take a walk afterward around the beautiful river valley and relish the nature around you, and give your hard-working brain a rest.